control. Henry, give me a roller, will you? No, not that one. The one over there. This one, Ma? Yes, dear. Now the other one. Yes, that one. Just a minute. Where are you going so fast? While my hands are full, wipe up that mess your sister made on the counter. That girl just spills and goes. Not a thought about the trouble she causes her mother. Oh, yes, Henry. Yes, Ma. The trash needs to be put out for tomorrow. Okay, Ma. Can I go to Ernie's house then? Be home at 5:15, no later. And take a sweater. Your nose is running already. Blow it before you go. What would Arnie's mother think of me, letting you go out with a running nose? Yes, Ma. Henry fled to Arnie's house. There he and Arnie were engaged in a dog training project. They were teaching Snow White to obey certain commands. Snow White was not very bright, but the big, furry creature didn't have the heart to actively resist them. The boys were pretty satisfied with their progress so far. Not surprisingly, Henry joined the army after high school and went away to far lands. Some of his mother's letters went unopened, unread. Nearly all went unanswered. In the army, Henry learned the military version of who deserved unquestioned obedience and who could be ignored. Henry didn't mind army life. It seemed rather familiar. After his tour of duty, Henry worked as an apprentice cook in a string of restaurants. As a novice, he was ordered about by the other cooks and even by aggressive waiters. A disagreement with the boss always resulted in his quitting or being fired. Henry was never clear about whose orders were absolute and whose were unworthy of concern in the restaurant business. He worked toward the day when he could be head chef and take orders from nobody. When he became head chef, he was puzzled to discover that there were still people with authority over him, limiting his budget, selecting his menu, and so forth. He could not escape the softly worded commands. Henry stayed far away from his hometown during those years, but his mother pulled him back home for Christmas each year. He endured those few days in part because of his loneliness. When Henry began therapy, he was careful to choose the kind of person he wanted as a therapist, someone who wouldn't push him around. He set the time of the therapy session at 7 a.m. He set the fee, the rules about what assignments he would carry out. He determined who would talk and when. For a time, therapy was enjoyable for Henry, but after a few sessions, he got tired of moving his therapist about and finding no resistance. He began to see the burden involved in controlling others, the attention and energy that it requires. He began to see the other side of his mother. He wrote a letter thanking her for the trouble she had gone to in raising him. He got a prompt reply from his letter inviting him to spend Easter too at home that year. It was only a couple of weeks away. Henry chose to visit his home for Easter and allowed his mother to maneuver him about that weekend. He thoroughly enjoyed the visit. During the flight back to the West Coast, Henry fell asleep and dreamed that he was a child playing in a sandbox with a big puddle of water in the center. Water trickled down the channel he had dug in the sand. He tried and tried to pile up sand to stop the flow, but the water slowly backed up until it overflowed his sand banks. Suddenly, he got the idea of digging a new channel upstream to divert the flow. It worked beautifully. Henry clapped his sandy hands together with glee. Being influenced or controlled may not be so bad in every situation. Choosing to allow the control for clear purposes puts one's destiny back into one's own hands. Giving ourselves away to others may involve allowing them some limited influence over us. We Americans have been taught to value fierce independence. A satisfying life, however, fits reality and not some idealized model of inflexibility. Thank you for listening.